of Me podcast, where we explore the defining moment that shape extraordinary people into who they've become. Our today's guest is Maxim Shapiro, a man's immense life coach, speaker, and founder of Forward Motion Coaching. He spent roughly 40 years living with depression, but not because his life was really falling apart on the outside, but because he was not living the life he actually wanted on the inside. What changed everything was not just a single breakout, but the person who helped him finally connected to what it means to live fully yourself and become the heroes of his own stories. Now he help other men do the same. It's really a pleasure and honor having you on the show. Mazin. Yeah, thank
Thank
you
you. It's
so
great to
much,
be here.
Mazin. So Mazin, take us back to the beginning. Who were you growing up, and what did the world around you teach you about teach you explicitly and implicitly about what a man supposed to be and how a man was supposed to live?
Well, I would say the immediate world around me was my parents, and my father was a very intelligent man, but he was not a strong man. He was not very involved with me. He was kind of off in his own world. And in the home, my mom really kind of ran things and, bossed him around. And he never really, you know, fought back or stood up for himself or for me, quite frankly. So I didn't have an impression of a man as being like a strong individual. And he also let me get away with stuff that he probably shouldn't have let me get away with. So it was, on the one hand, he was a very hard worker himself. He was very
Yeah,
focused on his own work, but he didn't really, other than kind of like correcting me verbally, he didn't really try to impose that work ethic and those standards onto me. So when I was a kid, I felt kind of lost. I didn't have a super strong emotional tie with my father or with my mother. So it was a little bit in our house was a little bit of an emotional vacuum. There was a lot of yelling, but not a lot of, tender communication. And my father he just didn't really spend that much time with me. So he was a very hard worker himself, but he did not show me, how to work hard. Just
yeah.
didn't have time with him to see him doing what he did. So we didn't have that kind of
Yeah.
bond.
Oh, that was really a whole lot. Being that usually when growing up as a man, especially having man like a man figure, you ought to have more like I'll spend time getting to know what a man is from that, owing to the responsibility and him getting to show you around and seeing what he does. But none of those things was available. So you spent about 40 years living with depression. What did that actually feel like? From the inside as a clinical description, but the daily experience of being in your own life.
Yeah. I mean, it's hard. Depression is like a dark cloud over you. And it's kind of self-perpetuated because for me, depression came from a lifetime of saying negative things to myself. And I remember one summer when I was 19 years old, when I kind of had my first bout of depression and I didn't know what it was. I woke up one day and I just didn't have the energy to go anywhere. I didn't want to go to work. I just had no motivation. I lost all my motivation. And I think basically, I mean, that summer in particular, I was very negative on myself. And this was after, really a lifetime of kind of being that way. And I think something just broke inside me, and just the weight of my negativity towards myself kind of broke a dam. And I had this first kind of bout of depression where I just didn't want to go anywhere. And this lasted probably, I don't know, a week or something like that. And then I would get revisited by those bouts throughout my life. And later on, I learned that this was really, it was self-imposed in a sense. Essentially, I would have these bouts of depression when I just couldn't handle life and I would need to hide. It could be days at a time. Um, and one of the things that helped me get out of depression was understanding that to a large extent, I was choosing depression. It's not like this condition that I had that was an external thing. It was like my own thought process was what was making me depressed. And so I started to change my thought process. And that's how I cured myself
Yeah,
of
wow,
depression.
that was really a whole lot of work that gets to be done in there. Being able to kind of push yourself out from depression. So from the outside, it sounds like your life was off track, and yet eternally something was profoundly missing. What is the gap between life that look right and a life that feels right, and how long can a man sustain that distance before it starts to cost him in way he cannot ignore?
Yeah. Well, I would say that the reason a lot of people have midlife crises, a lot of men have midlife crises in their 40s, is because that's about the amount of time that we can kind of
Mm,
white knuckle our way through life. And I definitely remember in my late 30s feeling more depressed, feeling like I was not where I wanted to be. And, I think a lot of men get to that age and they may have accomplished a lot, but they don't feel the sense of joy and fulfillment that they think they should based on their accomplishments, based on what society has been telling them they're going to feel if they do X, Y, and Z. And that's where the
yeah,
midlife crises
yeah,
come from.
amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So you say someone very important to you, help you crack it open, help you connect to what it means
Yeah.
to really live fully without sharing more than you want to. Who was that person, and what did they do or say that finally got you through?
Yeah. This
Mm,
person is a woman, and she and I first collaborated. She was my life coach initially. And I remember when I met her, I didn't really understand what it was. I think the first time I ever spoke with her, after getting off the phone with her, I went and I played the best round of golf I
yeah,
ever played in my life. There was just something in the energy. And then I started to work with her as her client, and I started to kind of wake up to the fact that I had been putting off so many things in life. Like, as an example, I got a dog because I've been telling myself my whole life I wanted a dog. I never had a dog. And I kind of realized, wait a second, if I want a dog,
yeah, good bit,
I
yeah,
need to go and get a dog. Like, I kept saying, someday I'll do this thing, expecting that somehow it was going to happen. And it's like, no, I have to go make this thing happen. So that was kind of the start of my awakening. And then she and I started a personal relationship, which ended our professional relationship. And then it became a lot more intense. And it was really hard because I started to really get into aspects of myself that I had locked away for a long time. And it literally felt that way. Like I had this whole other room in my brain that kind of, she came and she knocked the wall down between the room where I had been living and this other room. And I realized, oh, wait, my world is way bigger than I thought it was. But
yeah,
what was in this other room was stuff that I had ignored for 30 years. And so there was a lot of ugly stuff in there. It was hard to work my way through that. So it was an incredibly difficult period, but it started this period of self-discovery, self-actualization, that's still going, but it really kind of started me on the path to being the person that I wanted to be.
amazing, amazing. Oh, taking actions and having to get into the score that, oh, I've left a whole lot of ground since, and you being able to kind of start shifting a whole lot of stuff. So the shift you describe from depressed and directionless to enroll and engage in your own life is not a small one. What did that transition actually demand of you? What did you have to let go of before you could ever move forward?
I needed to let go of the past, as far as there were ways that I had behaved for 40 years that weren't working. And I needed to let go of those ways. And it's amazing. If you've been doing something for a long time, even if it's not working, it's still comfortable to you because you're familiar with it. And so it's scary to move away from that and to go into something else. So I went through this whole period of a lot of what I was doing was, I mean, was really getting in touch with myself and my own intuition and discovering that I had ignored my intuition my entire life. And so, like, these voices in my head of like things that would come to me as things to do or things to say, I always ignored them because I just wasn't taught. I didn't understand that that was my true self talking to myself. So I had to change my whole behavior. I had to change the way I responded to situations. I had to learn to listen to and trust myself rather than thinking to myself, well, what's the right thing to do based on what I think others would do, which is what I had done my whole life. So it was really putting aside one operating system and taking on a whole new operating system, which was
Yeah.
challenging and scary and also productive
Yeah.
and,
Putting
and
down
beautiful.
one operating system. Yeah. And putting on the next other. Yeah. That was really amazing. So you describe becoming the heroes of your own stories. What does that phrase mean to you, and why do you think so many men never step into that role, even when they are capable of it?
I think a lot of people don't know what it means. I think a lot of people are living based
Yeah,
on a checklist of things that they think external sources want from them. And they might be very successful at completing that checklist, but that doesn't mean it's fulfilling them internally. To me, being your own hero isn't about what your life looks like externally, although it will have effects on what your life looks like externally, but it starts internally, and it starts by truly being the person that you've always wanted to be. So I think within each of us, we have this ideal in our mind of who we see ourselves as if we are our best self. And what I'm talking about is the process of allowing yourself to be that person. So you come into situations and there's a way that that person would handle that situation, whether it's, being honest or being generous or whatever. And it's allowing yourself to be that person again and again until that person that you wanted to be your whole life, you've become that person
yeah,
through
yeah. I
practice.
think what you just said is very, very essential. When you allow yourself those particular inches, start doing it little by little, it start unveiling a whole lot of possibility. That have just been more like retaining the thought before, but not action based. But taking a step at a time is opens you to a whole lot of them, and you see more. Yeah, being able to kind of look towards it and being able to achieve it. Yeah, really amazing. So you speak English and Russian, and build your coaching practice in San Francisco. What has navigating multiple culture and language taught you about different way men are conditioned to suppress what they actually want from their own life?
Well, Russian culture is thought of in the US as being kind of very direct, not a lot of sugarcoating. And there's a lot of beauty in that. Like the woman that I'm talking about,
Yeah,
she's Russian, and she's the most amazing person I've ever met. She's very direct with me, and she's also incredibly loving and supportive. So she will tell me what she doesn't like, but then she also gives me a chance to fix it or to get better. And it's very challenging being with that type of woman. But if you kind of handle it, if you grow into the type of man who can handle it, you'll be the best version of yourself. So having that access to Russian culture has been great. A lot of people in California, I grew up on the East Coast, and they think of the East Coast as kind
yeah,
of that similar type of thing. People are very direct. They don't sugarcoat things. So, I definitely appreciate a direct approach with people, and that's something I do in my coaching. I speak directly. I try not to sugarcoat things. At the same time, you have to say things in a way that people are able to hear them. But I think as a coach, the biggest mistake I've seen in coaches is that they are too polite. Like, when you're coaching someone, you get a sense of what to ask, of what to say or what to ask. And it's your intention, your intuition talking to you. It's your coaching experience talking to you. The way to be a good coach and to love coaching is to allow yourself to ask those questions that come to you. But very often those questions are direct and confronting because you're looking
yeah,
at the person, you're seeing through them, and you can see the issues. And a lot of people don't allow themselves to ask those questions because they're afraid to offend their client. And by doing that, you're cheating your client of the best insights that you have as a coach, and you're cheating yourself of enjoying coaching. Because if you coach that way, where you don't allow yourself to ask the questions you really want to ask, you're going to get bored. You're not going to enjoy coaching. The only way to enjoy being a coach is to allow yourself to ask the questions you really want to ask, because that's what your true self wants you to ask. And that's what's interesting to you. So you need to do it in a way that's
Yeah,
interesting to you.
amazing, amazing. I think it didn't just speak volumes to everywhere. Every man needs someone in their life who could actually more like tell them point blank what is going wrong without sugarcoating it. And yeah, if it's either it's a mentor, either it's a friend, either it's yeah, you just need one man figures or any figure it might be that might just being able to kind of tell you the truth, blank in the eye without sugarcoating it most. And I think that is what we need every now and then to redirect yeah, a whole lot of us to the right path. Thank you. So you see, there are too many men in the US today living without a ruler, lost, purposeless, and not knowing how to be a man or produce people in these societies. What is driving that, and why is this particular moment in history creating so many men who feel directionless?
Well, I think if we're talking about men my age, 40 to 50, they grew up in a time when being authentic or being your true self was not
Yeah,
something that was important in society. We wanted, people who knew how to follow instructions and kind of fit into the system, and that was what the system was made for. I think today children probably get more exposure to,
yeah,
this is your authentic self. This is the concept of what it means to be authentic. But men my age did not get that. And then also in our lifetime, in the last 40, 50 years, the roles of men, which were already starting to change in the 80s, have changed more drastically. And so it's not as clear cut what a man is supposed to do in our society. But I think that the things that are the best attributes of men, if you really look at what a man is at his best, a man is a leader. He's brave. He is emotional in the sense of he feels all his emotions. A man who's not afraid to cry from love or from grief or from from deep emotion is a strong man. A man who takes risks, a man who puts himself on the line, who sticks his neck out, right? Puts himself in harm's way, as it were, for the sake of other people, for his family, for his community. A man is somebody who builds communities, who takes care of the people around him. Those are the best attributes of a man. And those are just
yeah.
as necessary as they ever were. In fact, they're more necessary than ever because we probably have fewer people than ever who are willing
Yeah,
to do those
amazing.
things.
Thank you so much for yeah, giving us this particular blueprint what a match would look like compared to growing up. Men were just expected to succumb to what the system demand without having any opinion. But having this particular framework just speak a whole of volumes towards a responsibility and staying authentic to themselves. Yeah, amazing. Thank you for sharing. So you describe your approach as action oriented, forward motion coaching. What does actions have to do with purpose, and why is doing something rather than just thinking or talking about it so essential to work to the work you do with men?
Action is really the key to good coaching. Without action, coaching is meaningless. Basically, what's happening in a coaching session is we're having a conversation where you're telling me about your life and I'm listening to you. I'm asking questions, I'm gaining insights, which I'm then sharing with you. And those are leading to aha moments for you. Those are leading to breakthroughs for you where you can see a new way of being for yourself. But in order to solidify those aha moments, you have to institute action based on those realizations. So you have a realization in our session, and it's appropriate and necessary for me to say, okay, well, based on that realization, what are you going to do differently in this situation? And then we implement accountability where the person commits to taking certain actions and then you follow up with them on that. And you just do that over and over again and it becomes consistent. So the person's learning a new way to think about themselves and about life. They're learning a new way to see themselves and they're putting actions into play based on that seeing. And that's what's going to change your life. Without those actions, there's nothing. We're just having a conversation. We're just wasting each other's time. So as a coach, you have to be good at converting your clients'
Yeah,
realizations into action.
converting your client's realization into action, then accountability. Yeah, it's really amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. So lastly, Mas, what legacy do you hope your work leave, especially for those men who are sitting somewhere right now, functioning on the outside, quietly empty, and on the inside, I wonder if really that's all that there is.
I want men to know that there's a place for them in this world, that it is possible to love your life, to be your own hero. There's a path to that. Not only is it a path to that, the world needs you. Despite all the messages in the United States that say we don't need men, that's wrong. The people who say those things, they don't understand what they're saying. We do need men, and we need those men to be the kind of men that they can be. So that's your calling, and there's a path to that, and it's possible to live in this life and love it and enjoy it and feel motivated to
Yeah,
be
thank
your
you so
best.
much. It's possible to live your life, enjoy it. Yeah, and do your best. This has really been amazing. I thank you so much for the whole lot of insight. So, man, from all those who want to reach out to you, either for your coaching sections or to reach out to you with one or two questions and respect of it, how can they reach out and where is the best platform?
Find me on forwardmotioncoach.ing, and you can set up an exploratory session with me there, and we can get our
Yeah,
coaching
thank you
relationship
so much,
started.
Master. Thank you for such an honest, grounded, and genuinely important conversations. Your journey just reminds us that depression does not always look like falling apart. Sometimes it looks like a perfectly functioning life that just does not feel like yours. And that the distance between existing and actually living is one of the most important gaps a man can ever choose to close. From 40 years of not pushing yourself to a coaching practice, helping men finally become the heroes of their own stories. Yeah, your life is a proof that it's never too late to start. And I'm also a truly pleasure and honor having you on the show, Mas.
It's been a great honor to
Yeah,
be here.
thank you.
Thank you for having me.